Hey everybody, I am back with the final conclusion to the epic three-part Batman Knightsfall trilogy. And man, it's been a long road. I was woefully ill prepared for the amount of story that's involved with each of these volumes, uh, especially in the second one. And I made my criticisms about certain parts in Nightfall Knight's Quest, which you can check out my review and coverage of Nightfall and Knightsend on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Links are in the description below. So if you want to know the full context of this trilogy, please follow me in the links in the description below. And without further ado, let's continue. Now, this one, I gotta say, I'm not gonna bear the lead here. This one, unlike the previous two, is especially the last volume, this one was better contained. But I gotta say, for the most part, I think in Nightfall and Knightsend, I think the art is better done in those. But this one seems like very concise and to the point. There's no needless sidetracks with other characters, except at the tail end. There is like an aftermath of this, but as I read through it, I don't think it was worth for me making slides for. So we're just going to be sticking to the main story here. So, since Bruce has went on his journey to find kin solving and and Jack Drake and all that other stuff, he came back, was notified by Robin about what Jean Paul Valley has been doing as he was bestowed the mantle of Batman to him. Bruce, hoping that his training and because Jean Paul was, as a kid, was brainwashed by his father, who was the previous Azrael, the kind of like the soldier of the Order of Saint Dumas, into being like the next, taking up the mantle of the, order and everything like that, being brainwashed to be the perfect soldier assassin type guy. But Batman thought, like, okay, like with the other Robins, I got to them early and trained them properly, so they won't go down a route of a potential criminality. And it's like, oh, I can just copy and paste. But he didn't realize how extensive and like so deep rooted this brainwashing was, and how it's mentally messing with this guy's mind. So now, all that training coupled with, what his father did, and by extension, the Order did, it's starting to mess with his mind. So now, all those three running simultaneously, as you saw from Volume 2, how he was just like losing it more and more as Robin looks on, keeping tabs on him. And you see the guy is causing, not directly, but inadvertently causing death from people he's supposed to be bringing to justice. And all that is just like, this is gone out of hand. Now Bruce is like, he tried to confront him, but because he's been so inactive, because he's been, after the whole ordeal with Bane breaking his back, and the fact that he was already prior to that mentally and just drained. On top of all that, being physically drained from Bane releasing all the Arkham inmates and him trying to corral them back up, he was just like, okay, it was inevitable that it was going to go down the way it did with Bane. But trying to recuperate, he'd been in a wheelchair for so long, is pretty much his muscle memory has kind of atrophied a bit. And so now that, because John Paul thinking in his warped mind's like, you gave the mantle to me. You lost to Bane. I did not. So I earned that, which from the first volume, Batman should have peeped like certain things like, yes, I will become the Bat, the better Bat. What was that? Oh, nothing. Nothing. I was like, I hate when they do things like that. And, the writers do things like that. It's like kind of like, just leave that as a thought bubble. Don't make it like so kind of obvious that Batman of all people could not pick up that, let alone like Robin and Nightwing. But Nightwing shows up in this too. Finally, he only showed up at least a little bit in Nightfall, and so Bruce, realizing, okay, I've been inactive for so long, I lost my edge a bit. I need to do a pretty much a study cram session kind of situation of all the things that I would have been trained for previously. I gotta, do a re-review. So he ends up going to Lady Shiva, who, if you recall, is part of the League of Assassins, a whole nother order. But don't know why he didn't go to Talia of all people, but whatever. Pretty much, second best compared to Talia. It'll still get the job done. So luckily, Lady Shiva's in Gotham at this, point. Well, not just of yet. Lady Shiva went to take on this armless, martial arts master. And she calls him to bring a witness. And so the dude fights this Grand Master and then beats him and kills him in front of the witness. Then that witness had to, go tell his other students, which, there's like several, and they want to get revenge on the murder of the who took, down their master. And Lady Shiva, wore this Tengu mask, which is very reminiscent to a bat. It's kind of coincidence, I guess. So Bruce ends up going to her because he needs to be in Gotham, and it's like I said, it's crunch time. Normally when he was younger, he went and traveled the world and learned all these skills. He doesn't have time for all that now, so he kind of had to take all that stuff and put into one study session. So he goes to Lady Shiva, who's in town, waiting for these students to take revenge, because she just, it's never explained as to why she went after it. There is some kind of purpose. I just can't recall as of right now, but it's just like, she expects some kind of retaliation. She doesn't care. So, of course, a lot of members, at least high members of the league, know Bruce Wayne is Batman, obviously. He goes to her, said he needs some training. And so she's like, okay, well, we'll get to work on it. So she's his Mr. Miyagi or Mrs. Miyagi kind of thing going on. And, trains him, get everything in order, hone his reflexes again so he can anticipate moves before they come. All the things that we know Batman to know just by knowledge of the character. He has to relearn all that stuff, which Lady Shiva helps him to do. But she also, as part of the graduation, expects him to take a life, which obviously Bruce will not do. So she then, presents him as the next stage of his lesson, presents him with the Tengu mask. Because, since you can't don your normal cowl, because you're not obviously ready, this is your next stage of training. You're Batman in training, essentially. So, here's some coordinates. Here's the mask. Meet me here. So, Bruce is like, okay, cool. It kind of looks like Ninja Gaiden. If you remember that game, it kind of reminds me of Ninja Gaiden here. A little bit. I haven't thought about that game in so long, but it just picks that right up. I never beat that game, matter of fact. I played it on the Super Nintendo as a little kid, but I never managed to beat that freaking side scroller. Side scrolls back in the day were typically pretty freaking difficult for a little kid, especially get stuck on something. So he goes to coordinates, and unfortunately, Shiva was not there. But his first run-in with one of the students caught him by surprise. So they fight. He, does this whole Scorpion from Mortal Kombat thing going on. Hold on. He does a
get over here!
And the guy is like, you killed our master, but prepare to die. And of course, Bruce, quickly realized she set me up. She must be the one that had killed this guy's master. But he decides to let these people, because he could easily explain things, but which is perfectly written, I gotta admit, because if it was done today, more often than not, except for maybe Tom King or something, a competent writer like that would have written it this way. But more often than not, there would have been a writer that would have done something not lay down that dialogue, or at least that thought, where it's something lazy, not giving him the opportunity to say anything, or it's him getting interrupted as he's trying to explain he's not the one who did it. No, it's brilliantly set up where it's no, I could tell him, but this is good training, because I want it being real, because I handle deadly criminals all the time. I cannot slack on any metric here. So I'm going to let them keep thinking that I'm the one that did it, so that way they could come at me with full force. If they take me out, it is what it is. But I need this. And so he takes this guy out, But he comes to realize this dude, because there's like like at least 5 or 7 of these people, the students he had to go up against. It's kind of like in one of those old, martial arts movies where it's like kind of like this tower, and each level, there's a karate master that gets progressively harder as you go up. It's kind of like this, and when this was written, I imagine that was like the thing on the writer's mind where it's like, oh, well, it can be like taking on, different types of martial artists, and each one more progressively difficult than the last. But Bruce having a tough time just with the weakest one. He knows, like, okay, I'm clearly not ready. He ties up the dude, brings him to Lady Shiva, and this is the stupid part, in my opinion. Brings him to Lady Shiva, and it's like, you set me up. You killed their master, and you gave me this mask, so they'll just think I'm you, and then they'll be trying to kill me. And it's like, yeah, so you wanted a training, you wanted to be tested, and you want to be prepared, so I gave you a perfect scenario here. It all worked out perfectly. Then Bruce is like, I'm going to let this ride because I do need the training, but, like, I ain't going to kill nobody. And it's like, he leaves the dude in her presence, which not too long after he leaves, kills the dude. And I was like, Bruce, that was so idiotic. You know who this woman is. What makes you think she will not kill this dude as soon as you leave? That is so dumb. And eventually one of the other students end up finding the body. Then we circle back to what Jean-Paul Valley is doing, and he's looking for this criminal named Lee Hay, who he come to realize was the one responsible for the murder of his father. So now he's really getting off hinge. On top of the voices in his head from the programming by the system, he's looking for this particular medallion that is part of the Order de Saint Dumas thing, which connects everything, while Robin is looking on from the outside, keeping tabs, which he will relay to Bruce of his comings and goings. So now he's kind of like, tearing ass in the city, trying to, find these other criminals who have some type of connection to Lee Hay's whereabouts. So it's, Gotham's starting to become on fire. Not too long after the whole ordeal with Bane releasing all those inmates, is once again, it's just like, this renegade Batman, which, by the way, the mayor just let go run rampant because he thinks it's still the Batman who saved his life. And he's like all for it. And I was like, yeah, let him do whatever. He just could. Okay, I understand that he saved your life, so you owe him some kind of debt. But the fact that you're the mayor and you lend this so-called Batman just knowing full well that he never done anything this extreme before, is tearing up the freaking city and nearly killing, or at least is tied to the deaths of 2 criminals. You and you would think like, okay, this is kind of gone too far. But you chewing out Gordon, who's trying to tell you like this is off. And of course, like they go back and forth, like, you used to be all in for this vigilante. All of a sudden, you're like, backpedaling. What's up with that? And it's like, yeah, he wouldn't be the one who knows more about, about work with Batman, knows more about his, antics and everything like that, and MO. So you should probably listen to him. But he just being woefully ignorant and like bashing Gordon the whole entire time without, listening to his wisdom. Where it's like, no, something is up. I don't think this is our Batman kind of thing. Because I know Batman. Batman doesn't do what this guy is doing. Clearly, this guy is off. From how it ended in the last volume, he comes to realize that, okay, you're not him. I don't know who you are, but clearly you're not him. Where's Batman? And like, yes, thank you, because Gordon may not know who Batman is, but he knows Batman's MO, and he considers him a friend. And it's like, think about your closest friend and how they move about over the years. And then all of a sudden, for like a week or two straight, they gone completely off the rails, and the MO is completely off. You will quickly assume like, okay, something is wrong. It's like, you're not him. You will eventually, start piecing things together. So the next student ends up coming after Bruce. He tells him, which kind of contradicts the last thing he, mentioned, where it tells the guy like, yeah, I'm not the one who killed your master, but if you do me a favor, can you continue thinking I did? It's like, why do you even have to say that? Because after what he thought in his mind in the previous fight, you lay down that like thought process where it's like, I'm going to let these guys continue to think, I don't want to kill their master. So you don't need to have him say here, it's like, I would like you to continue to think I did. It's like, okay, you can keep one, but not both. Because it works here if the other thing wasn't set up. So that's my kind of issue. Because like, you kind of like trying to have your cake and eat it too kind of situation. Just keep one or the other. It works either way. So he fights this guy. It's probably like the second strongest. And of course, he got these kind of like crazy meat cleaver things. And he comes after Bruce, who's continuing wearing the Tengu mask. They fight near the riverbank, and Bruce wins, but not the way he would like. He was literally about to get cleaved in too, but thankfully it was like a rock nearby that he picked up to take the blow as he took the guy down. But he was like, God, that was like pitiful. I won in such a pitiful way. If that rock was not there, I would have got cleaved in too. That is just so dumb. And by the way, he ends up going on top of, of one of the buildings with like a grappling hook. When it's like, he keeps walking away because like, God, it's like, I know that I can, like, I've done this like 1,000 times, but he freezes. It's like, I'm not ready. I know I'm not ready. It's kind of like he's like testing stuff. Am I ready to take this leap? No, I know I'm not. So he goes back. It's like, I still got more training. Of course, Valley is still like plagued by visions of his father. It's like, you failed at being Batman. You failed at being Azrael. You got to you got to do more. It's just the visions just plaguing him and telling him you're crappy this whole entire time. And it's like, just pretty much just calling him a failure in every which way he can. And it's like, you have to take down this Lehigh guy, complete that so you can rise up and become your true self, that kind of thing. And of course, Valley is conflicted because he wants to do what Batman does, but that kind of contradicts how he expected to be acting as Azrael. So those two conflicting ideologies are bumping heads, and which causing him like some serious mental breakdowns. Nightwing and Robin meet up with Bruce, who tells them about the whole history of Azrael and the Order of Saint Dumas, filling them in about the medallion and everything as we're going on, and why he thought he could help this guy because none of it was his fault, because he was only like a child when his father brainwashed him. He thought he can help, but he probably only made things worse. So he tells him just keep tabs on him. Like when the time comes, we'll be ready to stop him. So eventually, one of the other students comes after him. This one laying traps for Bruce, which he quickly maneuvers, but he kind of chastises himself because, like, I should have anticipated a trap. I should have been able to see this miles away. But like once again, I'm like so like rusty at this point. But he narrowly escapes, and the fight takes place on top of a log, and he managed to beat this guy. Meanwhile, Nightwing and Robin infiltrate the Batcave. They have to go through like a secret entrance Robin used to get in and out, because the typical means have been sealed away by Valley, except for one particular entrance via the train tracks, which they soon discover as to how Valley was able to get into the city and back, so quickly, especially since the Batmobile has hardly been used. They see that gremlin-looking dude named Harold who doesn't speak. Don't even know why or how they even came up with a guy. What is the point? I know the point of it. Harold, the little gremlin guy, long before the whole Nightfall thing even came about, was, the engineer or tech guy that Batman has, living in the Batcave kind of thing. And after a certain point, they kind of done away with that character. But that character was so pointless because Batman is smart enough to make his own gadgets. But anything even more advanced, he counted Lucius Fox, which I'm pretty sure would have been created around this time. But it was just like, God, this character is so pointless. I cannot stand that Harold character. It's just, I don't know what the logic behind creating a character like this is. So pointless. Maybe it was probably needed at the time during the late 80s, early 90s. But, God, I'm so glad they done away with that character. But can you imagine somebody like Tom King or somebody current bringing back Harold in some fashion, but possibly as like a surprise villain for like a Batman story? That'd be kind of interesting. Just like bring back Harold, but as a villain who like knows all Batman's secrets, knows all his gadgets, and pretty much turn it against him, and pretty much kind of like the Tinkerer for the DC universe. Whereas like supplying criminals with Batman-like gadgets, things of that sort, that'd be kind of interesting. And somebody tries to see this video and try to steal their ideas. That was my idea, just so you know. Calling it right here, because that is an interesting, plot for a Batman story where Harold is the threat to Batman, and it's like, yeah, I can talk the whole entire time. I just kind of play dumb the whole entire time y'all knew me. I've been helping you guys out. Y'all cast me to the side, and without care in the world. kind of retcon a little bit of the character, but I don't think many people really cared or even think about Harold this entire time unless you're talking about something like Nightfall. But it's like, yeah, I come up with all these gizmos. I turned yours against you. Like, you relied on your tech so much, I built most of your tech. And like, at least the foundation of it, or like the middle foundation a little bit. Because like the thing about like Bruce set up the foundation, Harold did like the centerpiece, and then Lucius Fox did the top layer kind of situation. I'm that little middle layer that I, contributed to your tech that you still use, like your grapnel hook, like certain components of your Batmobile, the computer, all that stuff. I help contribute in making. I can easily like gain access to it. I can find my way to backdoor way in. That is like a serious threat to Batman, and like all the Robins and Batgirl and all the other stuff that they use. Harold contributed in creating. That is such a cool idea. But anyway, back to the story. Robin and Nightwing having like this back and forth, where it's like Nightwing is like, why didn't Bruce come to me? Why he goes to this freaking zealot to give him the mantle of the Batman? That is, not like him. And Robin has to check him a bit. I was like, he knew that you wanted to become your own man, so that's why he didn't come to you, because he figured that you'll turn it down anyway. And besides, you wanted to go your own way instead of trying to follow in his shadow, so he didn't bother, coming to you about that. Which is like a fair point, like, because I imagine, of course, there's, years later in another Batman story where Batman supposedly had died by Darkseid, Nightwing took up the mantle of Batman, and Damon was his Robin. So it was a thing. But at this point in time, after Nightwing and Batman had like a falling out, Batman, Nightwing wanted to, be his own person, protecting Bloodhaven. It's like, your one of your biggest issues and contributed to your falling out with your father figure is the fact that you just, you grew up and you wanted to do things your own way. And of course, that caused friction. So, which Bruce respected. But then they find Harold, who was tucked away in a little hideaway unbeknownst to Valley, and he helped with them trying to, get the tools they need to stop Valley. Then, who I thought was hand ninjas, not hand ninjas. Well, they kind of look like hand ninjas, but I thought it was kind of League of Assassins or something. But they're just ninjas from that Grandmaster's Order, who were also coming after this masked figure. But they end up leading Bruce, which he knew, but into the arms of another student. Okay. Pretty sure this happens, this bald-headed guy. 1 second. Yeah. So the next fight takes place on a freaking highway. A bunch of cars is zipping by, and this bald-headed black dude is just have no qualms fighting in the street. And I like the depiction of these speeding cars. It's like, you know, it's kind of like in Flash time. Like you're watching Flash fight and everything's kind of, in motion while the characters are still. I like this look. Just depicting like, times pretty much like almost slowing down or slowing down while these two are just trying to duke it out. And it's like so dangerous. But they kind of, got to maneuver around these cars while trying to, subdue the other. Of course, meanwhile, Valley is like one step closer to finding Lehigh. And now he got a freaking flamethrower on one of his gauntlets. This dude is pretty much like a walking, clearly an action figure, trying to be sold. Once Bruce takes down one of the thugs, then another student shows up. I think it's like the second to last student, where she has another kind of like a whip chain thing. And she was driving one of the cars and tried to run Bruce over. They end up duking it out in the rain. But Bruce, already kind of like, near his, the fatigue is starting to set in after he fight all those ninjas, as well as this previous student on the highway, dodging cars, all that other stuff. He is just like, reaching his limit. And this girl has him dead to rights. Now, as she was about to swing this chain, it gets hooked on a passing truck, which yanks her away, which, causes her to fall and knock unconscious from the impact of the road. And Bruce points out, that was just dumb luck. She had me dead to freaking rights. And if it wasn't for that speeding car, I would have been a goner. I was like, God, that was so dumb. At least a couple of times Bruce managed to pull out a win just by sheer luck of it all. But he knows that luck won't allow him to beat. Luck alone won't give him the edge against Valley. Like he needs to truly be ready. And meanwhile, Lady Shiva's watching on as this whole ordeal, keeping track of his training this entire time. And that's when like the final boss pretty much shows up, this muscle bound ninja, kind of reminiscent to his introduction to Bane in a way. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised that there was no kind of like parallels or something for Bruce to like, this is kind of like your second chance to redeem yourself, because you was ill prepared for Bane. You underestimated Bane. So now you got like a Bane substitute for you to like, okay, here you go. Let's try this again. And now he's battling this guy. And the fight, takes place like on top of a building, or at least leads to a building. Then the fight scenes, it looks very good. And he kicks this guy into one of the buildings. And meanwhile, like Jumper Valley is fighting this kind of like stupidly designed, criminals, wearing like some stupid tech gizmo thing. but ends up killing this guy, lighting him on fire or something, which shocking Renee Montoya and the other cops that how far this dude is gone at this point. Because this guy is also connected to the Lehigh thing, so he's trying to get closer to his goal to, uh, bringing the Azrael justice onto Lehigh. So Bruce has this big ninja down, dead to rights. And he does this kind of like tiger or leopard strike kind of thing, seemingly killing the guy, which unfortunately Robin and Nightwing showed up at that time to witness it. And Lady Shiva shows up and like, good. It's like, you graduated. Now you're ready. Which infuriates Nightwing and Robin, who couldn't believe that Bruce had crossed the line. All the things that he taught them, he ended up betraying everything he stood for, kind of thing. But as soon as Lady Shiva takes the mask away so he can don his true cowl, she says she goes and like, I'll handle the rest of those people so they won't, bother you, kind of thing. But Bruce, and they notice that the guy ain't really dead, so Bruce tells Nightwing and Robin's like, yeah, like, I only use the move that would, because I knew she was watching me the entire time. So I knew this won't end until I graduated in her eyes. So I, pretended to kill this guy. I used a move that would simulate that he's, his heart stopped, so I killed him. But, he would have been, all right in a few minutes. It was long enough to convince Lady Shiva that the task was done. So of course, Robin and Nightwing are overjoyed that their mentoring and fathering betrayed everything they stood for. So yeah, Lady Shiva finally put a stop to the rest of those ninjas. So this is the last you see of either one of them. And of course, we got a nice little moment where Bane is locked up in Blackgate. And he's coming out of it, and it's like the Batman is back. Cause you just sense it. Which cool that we get a little, return to Bane for a brief minute, but we don't do nothing with it. It's just like he just senses the true Batman has returned. Now, I'm willing to buy that part, but it's just like, okay, I don't know. It's like I expect a little bit more if you're going to return to somebody like Bane, who was instrumental in this entire trilogy, who set a lot of this up in the first place. I don't know. Kind of wanted to see a little bit more of what you're going to do with it. But Bruce is ready. He dons his cape and cowl again. And it's like, let's deal with Valley now. And I like this. It kind of reminds me of many images of Batman where he's just overlooking the city, stepping on top of a gargoyle with his cape billowing. And it's like, God, always loved the image of Batman. Superman has something similar, but one's at night for Batman, one's at day for Superman. Those are probably one of the most iconic images of these two larger than life heroes. And of course, we get a return to Catwoman, who's back in the city, looking for Lee Hay for some kind of gizmo. I don't care. It's just probably an excuse to get Catwoman involved because she had her little sliver of an arc in the Night Quest story, which was pointless. So yeah. We're halfway through. So Batman's back. Leah is at the mercy of Valley Batman. And so Batman's on top of the roof with Nightwing, Catwoman, and Robin and Batman staring down Valley's like, I'm calling you out. And Valley ain't even thinking about this dude. It's like, so you're back. You quit. It's like, you don't deserve the mantle of the Batman. I've defeated Bane. I've been protecting Gotham while you was away. You clearly can't beat me. Like I got a better suit and I got better training. I can easily take you down. So it's like Bruce trying to appeal to Valley's sensibilities, and it's like, please, let me help you. Just take off the suit. And of course, Valley's not hearing it. So a fight breaks out with Valley versus Batman. Which, if they was gonna do a live action movie, like something like James Gunn, or maybe like an animated film, it has to be a 3-parter. This story is way too big to fit into one film. Because I can imagine this could be like a pretty good, at the very least, an animated film. And can be done very well. But only if I was the one doing like the creating of this project, I would definitely Dragon Ball Z Kai this thing. Whereas take out the filler crap and just maintain the focus of what the story's got to be about. The first one is just Bane showing up to Gotham, watching Batman, studying him, releasing the inmates. Batman's, going through his own personal hangups with, mental fatigue and exhaustion because he's been doing this for such a long time, and it's starting to catch up to him because he's a little older, not crazy old, but it's like, definitely middle age or, just reaching at the late Middle Ages, and it's all starting to catch up with him. And they introduced case solving and kind of got a potential do better at establishing some kind of previous relationship years ago that's kind of rekindling now. Because in the volume 1, it seems kind of weirdly quick, where she just all of a sudden so smitten with him for no apparent reason, honestly. But do a better job of setting that up. And matter of fact, I'm just kind of rewriting the whole entire comic event, because you just take out the filler crap, and then Batman dealing with all these villains. It doesn't have to be every villain, but like the ones that is more so we know. So you can swap out certain characters, but just obviously the Joker, Scarecrow, Firefly, the ventriloquist, a fair amount of the classic villains. Not all of them, at least a handful of them, and then of course the whole Batman versus Bane, and then don't shy away with like the brutality of the fight between Batman and Bane. And then of course the breaking the the back, dragging him to City to toss him off the buildings where he's bouncing off the awnings and landing in the street, bloody on the concrete in front of the public, while Alfred, Robin, and Valley go to pick him up and patch him up. And then, matter of fact, that should be where like kind of ends on a cliffhanger. And then Knight's Quest is Valley being bestowed the mantle, or of course the also in the part one where Valley's being trained by Robin and knowing the ropes. But then in Night Quest Part 2 of this trilogy, Valley takes up the mantle of the Batman because Nightwing just actually showed Nightwing. Well, it's pretty fine how it was handled. It was like Nightwing, Batman just assumes he won't want it, so he's not gonna bother asking him because he's busy in Bloodhaven anyway. So I will give this to Valley because Robin's still too young for this. So I'm going to get some care from kin solving, but she ends up getting kidnapped along with well, I don't even know if you want to include Drake, Jack Drake, because you could take him out. Well, I say you can take him out, but there's got to be like a reason why she chooses to stay with her adopted brother who kidnapped her. But I guess you can work in a way where it's like she haven't seen him in a long time and he kind of manipulated her to stay. So I guess you can take out Jack Drake. It's not really no big deal either way to me. But Bruce feels the need to go rescue her. You can have some kind of cameo with Gypsy, Bronze Tiger, and Green Arrow helping him out. And of course, they know he's Batman. You don't have to. This is kind of like a modern day interpretation, so you don't need to do the whole rigmarole of secret identity with this, especially with somebody like Green Arrow, who probably would know. To help out a little bit in terms of trying to find kin solving, you can kind of still keep certain aspects of the London trip, but it doesn't need to be the whole pretending to be, I don't know, the whole thing with pretending to be this eccentric, Londoner kind of guy. I don't know, because a lot of that seems like, a lot to package into one story. So you just kind of like, limited as him like, going undercover. But the whole thing with like getting some hood guy vigilante of London who nobody knows, nobody really used, because it's the first time I ever introduced to this kind of character. Never seen him since. You could have just kept somebody like Green Arrow, who has been known to be able to infiltrate certain areas. You could have just kept him along, used him to break into MI6 in order to steal the files to learn more about Kinsolving and her brother. And then while he's still recuperating, we go back to what's going on Gotham, where Valley is slowly starting to become unhinged and then taking out all these criminal organizations in brutal ways and escalate. Don't need all this extra stuff with all these weird little mini boss villains that he has to deal with, like the acidic dude and like this other rando vigilante guy who can siphon off powers or strength or whatever. You don't need all that stuff. Just show Valley just taking out regular criminals, but just brutal ways. As a matter of fact, if you're gonna show like you can show high profile villains like the Penguin, who's so scared he actually just want to just mess with Gordon. And of course, Valley dealing with somebody like the Joker, because that part was fun. But just crunch it down to that, simple thing. And Gordon just become more like, this dude's getting out of hand and I don't know what to do with this kind of thing. And I'm getting stressed out because everybody's like, the mayor's allowing this and there's no law and order. So then you get to Bruce saving, kin solving, and coming back to Gotham, and Robin and Nightwing explain to him, there's something we gotta tell you about Valley, and then end it there, and like a to be continued for Knightsend, where Bruce tried to confront Valley, but because he has not been active for so long, he can't really pose a serious threat to him, especially with that walking Iron Man suit he got going on. So that's where he goes to somebody like Lady Shiva, or you can just swap out Lady Shiva for somebody recognizable like Talia al Ghul, who will be the ideal person to retrain him, to get him prepared to take on Valley again. So that's how I would do it. Not only as the comic book format, if you want to remaster it a bit, to update it a bit to be a little bit more concise and straightforward. You can do the similar way if you're doing this as like an animated film trilogy. That's how I would have done it. Anyway, back to the comic. I went off on a whole entire tangent, but I'm just letting you guys know how like bloated a lot of this story, this trilogy was, where you could just narrow it down to a very concise A to B to C to D, rather than A1, A2, then to B, then B1, B2, then to C, then to C1, C2. It's like, it's bloated. Anyway, while Nightwing and Robin's dealing with Lee Hay's goons and Catwoman's trying to go after Lee Hay, who's trying to get to the chopper, the fight ramps up between Batman and Valley, who's trying to torch Batman with his flamethrower, and of course lighting the roof on fire. And then as Lee Hay tried to use a Gatling gun on top of this helicopter to just shred both Batman, thanks to Catwoman kind of knocks everything off course. Both Batman grab onto the dangling rope line, as now the helicopter is going out of, going crazy, while these guys are trying to fight and hang on at the same time, and it takes them all the way over to one of the bridges in Gotham. So while the helicopter crashes on top of one of the spires on the bridge, Bruce and Valley are duking it out on the bridge. And of course, Batman in the meantime, because this dude got spikes all over his freaking suit, he's trying to avoid any major hits. And because the helicopter crash is like leaking fuel and it's spraying all over the place, Valley, trying to use a flamethrower, it lights him on fire, which allows Bruce to just kick him off and lands in the water. Bruce and Selina go to help out those criminals from dying. I kind of wish it has like a moment where Catwoman acknowledges better that, because I think she kind of acknowledges, but it's not really laid on thick enough for me, where it's like, oh, there's my guy. I recognize him anyway, because only he would go out of his way to try to help somebody as annoying as this dude is. And of course, she punches out the guy after he tosses the gizmo that she was looking for in the water. But she still helps Batman get these criminals off the roof from before the helicopter explodes, which it does. While Nightwing and Robin is trying to help, you know, get people to safety from the bridge. Of course, Bruce notices Valley's, or at least the Batmobile in general, not Valley's Batmobile, and because Valley has swapped out the passwords so he can access the Batmobile. He ends up booby trapping it, so when Bruce tries to re-access it, it goes off, which stuns Robin and Nightwing, who think Bruce is dead. But of course, Bruce made it out because he figured it. Thanks to Robin's alerting, he managed to get out in the nick of time. You don't see it or how it's done, but because he's Batman, you just accept it. And of course, this allows Nightwing and Valley, who rises up from the water, to duke it out now, which something that we probably wanted to see from the jump, where it's Nightwing take on Valley. And here's the thing that kind of, I don't know why, but it probably has something to do with the fire. But now Valley's suit is red and gold, and it's like, how does that have something to do with fire? Because I know he makes some upgrades so that way he can counter a lot of situations from those villains that he fought. But it's just, I don't know, it's not fully explained. You just randomly just change the color of the wings from blue to red. So yeah, Batman and Robin made it out of the situation after they, rescued the bystanders. Nightwing and Valley fight, which lands them in the water. They end up swimming onto this party boat, like it is on New Orleans casino party boat things. And the fight just escalates. It's just goes from a building to a helicopter to a bridge, now to a party boat. It's just it's a drawn out fight, which is honestly very exciting. This is a big boss fight here. That just kind of escalates and escalates. This dude's just a walking action figure with all these kind of claws and gadgets and flamethrowers, and he's a walking Iron Man suit, pretty much. And I like here, it's kind of funny, where Nightwing trying to tell this lady, it's get out here to safety. And she's like, what'd she say? Because it's kind of it threw Nightwing for a loop. It's you gotta have some kind of levity here throughout this seriousness. It's no way, sport. I've been playing this bandit all night, and he's getting ready to pay big. And I was Jesus. But I thought that was really funny. I had to include it. It was so freaking funny. So, Nightwing ends up getting knocked out by Valley, who only spares his life because cops showed up. So he ends up going back to the Batcave, where Bruce is there, because he anticipated he'll end up here eventually. And he's still trying to get Valley to understand, because he feels sympathy for Valley. He's not just any criminal. He's a criminal where he's it's not his fault for being the way he is. And he's trying to tell him, because he figures this all helps if he just takes off the suit. Because as you get to the end, it's you can tell that this guy just probably haven't taken off the suit in a while. Cause he just want to it's kind of a protective shell in a sense, where he just stays in a very long time. And Valley, who just we got nothing to say. Like, I'm the one who beat Bane. I'm the one who been protecting Gotham while you were gone. You abandoned all of this. So what was yours is mine now. All of it. So they briefly fight, but Valley escapes within the catacombs of the Batcave, which obviously the entrance is booby trap, which Batman anticipates. So he ends up going through a old hidden pathway in, which not only Valley didn't know about, but neither of the Robins knew. Is that old cave in when he fell into the cave for the first time as a boy, that his father had to go down to rescue him. He kept that hidden away as like a only he would know a way in case something happens. So he crawls his way back into the cave, where he takes on Valley again. And you see, like, all that training is paying off for Bruce, because now he's like able to just quickly outmaneuver this, guy. Because, mind you, he has like fundamental fighting skills. I won't say fundamental. Like the whole order brainwashed him to be like a super spy kind of assassin thing. So he knows how to handle himself. But the basic training he got from Robin still wasn't enough, because Batman has been training all his life. Since he was like 8 years old, or at least whenever he went off overseas to begin his training, he's been doing this for a long time. So not only has the know-how, but the brains and the physique to be Batman. Valley doesn't want to be bothered with half the stuff that Bruce knows, like the detective skills, like know how to throw a freaking batarang, because he still use those gauntlets to just shoot those batarangs out, because it's like, I ain't trying to be bothered to finesse like a batarang like he does. Why bother using like a normal grapnel hook where I can just have my gauntlets just fire up and take me where I need to go? Why use the back computer when I got an onboard thing in my helmet to tell me what I need to do, so I don't have to go back and forth to the Batcave? Why use a Batmobile where I gotta be stuck in traffic or maneuver around traffic, where I got a train track that can just go one way and I can just be there in half the time with no traffic? It's like he doesn't want to put in the work, and that is what gives Batman the edge, because he has done the training. He goes the extra mile. And that's ultimately what Valley's downfall is, in my opinion, because he's just lazy, for lack of a better word. So Bruce ends up leading Valley into the cavern where he came in. And because the space is so tight and his suit is so freaking bulky, Valley has no choice but to take off everything but the helmet. And so now it's just like, Valley's came far in terms of physique, and now he's like jacked to all hell compared to that scrawny kid that we saw in Nightfall. So Bruce leads him into the pathway of the section that was sealed away from the because of the cave in. So it's daytime now. It's morning, and because he has night vision on, that light, I guess you can use it as like a symbolism of holy light, given the fact that it's Azrael and Saint Demon and the whole zealot thing going on with him. He bathed him in holy light kind of situation, I guess, where it's like he saw the light and he's forced to take off all the suit. And then that's where, like you say, look how unkempt his hair is and everything like that. He's just like, he finally get to see that, oh, you are Batman. Whereas, like, how I interpret it is the fact that this suit has, like, as long as he's worn it, he will always think like, oh, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm wearing the suit, like, because all that is too, it was a lot of weight on his shoulders, physically and literally, literally and metaphorically. But once he, took that burden off, he's able to like come to his senses a little bit. And Bruce pulls him out of the cave, and he asks, like, I guess you'll be taking me to the police then. And Bruce is like, no, like, you've been through enough. What I've asked you wasn't fair for you. So you can just, go live your life, and just have a nice life. You don't have to worry about this anymore. So Valley goes off to parts unknown. Of course, years later, he comes back as part of the Bat family now, a little bit more stable and everything like that. But yeah, this is where Knightsend ends, where now that Batman's returned, everything's set right now. But kind of with, instead of the whole aftermath dealing with Catwoman and some other nonsense that really doesn't really add much, I would have rather the epilogue with Bruce going to something like Jim and the mayor and let him know about, like, not everything, but at least enough where it's like, look, the guy that you guys have been dealing with for the past couple of weeks, it wasn't me. Bane did some serious damage. I had somebody step in that I thought I trusted, but he's he's gone now. You won't ever have to see him again. Not like hinting that he's dead or anything like that, but just infer that he's getting the care that he needs, so you won't have to worry about him no more, kind of thing. That sort of thing. It's just trying to go to like Catwoman, just go to certain people, go to Alfred, and try to set things right with certain people after this whole Bane conundrum and Valley conundrum has settled now. That's what I would have wanted from like an epilogue, with just Bruce trying to set things right with people, because he's been gone and having some psycho zealot kind of take over and upend things. He has to clean up that mess now. That would have been a better epilogue in my opinion. But that was Knightsend. That is the completion of the Nightfall trilogy story. God, that was a lot. Ugh. And this is probably like the shortest among them, which I'm happy, because I could not deal with any more filler crap. But yeah, it's a if it's as long as they stick to like the main plot, it's been like a very uh uh a creative story, and like you're very engaged in it as long as they stick to the main plot of what we need to follow, and not all these little tangents. What they did with Kinsolving was kind of like lame in a way, where she just her brain just reverts to a child, and it's kind of like, God, that sucked. I would have rather her die while giving Bruce back his use of his body again, kind of like giving up her life for him, kind of thing, rather than her reverting back to her, mentally going back to her childlike state in some kind of psych ward or some kind of thing. That's just like, God, that's kind of lame and lazy. So like, I make my criticisms from each of those reviews. So if you can check those videos out, I give my thoughts, pros and cons about them all. But yeah, I got another Batman story I really want to talk about because it's been years since I've read it. It's not gonna be crazy long like the Nightfall trilogy. But I'm gonna do like at least one more DC thing before I go back into for one Marvel thing, and then for the month of October, I want to read some more Hellboy. I've been ever since the whole Atlantis review, the movie Atlantis review, where the Mike Mignola done a lot of the art for that first film. It's like got me in my head. I was like, man, I really want to read some more Hellboy. So yeah, that is just like the main plan for the next comic book reviews. But once again, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of the Nightfall trilogy. List your pros, list your cons. Which part of the story, which volume was your favorite, or how you rank it? Because I rank volume 1, 3, and 2. That's how I rank it. Because the second one was, at best, it was average. I'll put it that way. And this one was, pretty good because it stuck to the plot. And the first one was like epic, very epic. But anyway, I will see you guys a little bit later as I wrap up my Destiny 2 cutscene reaction video. But in any case, I will see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.